Shabbat Shalom. We're going to begin this evening by welcoming the Shabbat Angels, page 24. Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem Hashalei, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Lechem Leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Barakuni Leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Zidchem Leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We turn over now to page 9. Let's read together at the top. There are days when we seek things for ourselves and measure failure by what we do not gain. On Shabbat, we seek not to acquire, but to share. There are days when we exploit nature as if it were a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted. On Shabbat, we stand in wonder before the mystery of creation. There are days when we act as if for the rights of others. On Shabbat, we remember that justice is our duty and a better world our goal. So we embrace Shabbat, day of rest, day of wonder, day of peace. We turn back now to pages 2 and 3 to kindle the lights of Shabbat. And Randy tonight is doing the honor of helping us bring in Shabbat. Come join me on the bima, Randy. Thank you.
As these Shabbat candles give delight to all who behold them, so may we by our live give delight to all who behold us, as the brightness remains us of the generous who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be amongst these who kindle light.
And now we'll all join together in the prayer. Baruch
atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kishanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehanitneu shel Shabbat.
Thank you so much. Congratulations. Let's turn now to pages 20 and 21 as we welcome our Sabbath bride with the words of Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi, Lecha Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Mekavela. Lecha Dodi, Lecha Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Mekavela. Shamor v'zachor, v'nipur echad, Hishrianu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad, u'shemo echad, l'shem tiferet v'tefila. Lecha Dodi, Lecha Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Mekavela. Lecha Dodi, Lecha Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Mekavela. Likrat Shabbat, lechu v'necha, ki hi mekor habracha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh v'machshavat tchila. Lecha Dodi, Lecha Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Mekavela. Lecha Dodi, Lecha Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Mekavela. Hitoreri, hitoreri, ki ba'orei kumi ori, uri uri shidaveri, kivod Adonai alayich nigla. Lecha Dodi, Lecha Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Mekavela. Lecha Dodi, Lecha Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Mekavela. And we rise and face the rear of the sanctuary. Mo'i v'shalom, Ateret bala, Gam mesimcha u'tzola, Toch emunei am sigula. Bo'י chala, bo'י chala. Lecha Dodi, Lecha Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Mekavela. Lecha Dodi, Lecha Kala, turn over to page 27. And please, let's join together at the bottom of the page. Entrances to holiness are everywhere. The possibility of ascent is all the time. Even at unlikely times and through unlikely places.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Le'olam Vaed. Praise Adonai, to whom our praise is due. Praise Adonai, to whom our praise is due. Praise Adonai, to whom our praise is due. Now and forever. Ya Elai, Elai, Elai. Ya Elai, 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 Elai. Ya Elai, Elai, Elai. Ya Elai, Elai, Elai. Ya Elai, Elai, Elai. Ya Elai, 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 Elai. Ya Elai, Elai, Elai.
Page 31, the middle of the page, we read together again. This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. And in the middle of page 33, we read responsively, wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. And let's finish together. Then this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Vaed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Let us be seated. And we join together on page 36 with the words of Ve'ahavta.
Ve'ahavta את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ושוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. We read responsively once again in the middle of page 39. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Micha Mocha, page 40. Micha Mocha, Bayelim Adonai, Micha Mocha, Nidon Vakodesh, Norat Hilot, Osefele, Micha Mocha, Bayelim Adonai. Malchut Zechashib Ra'umanecha, V'kayam Lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, Ze'rianu ve'amaru, Adonai Imaloch le'olam le'olam va'ed. Micha Mocha, Bayelim Adonai, Micha Mocha, Nidon Vakodesh, Norat Hilot, Osefele, Micha Mocha, Bayelim Adonai. Page 43. We read together in the middle of the page. Give us a place to rest Adonai, our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Vishamru, page 44. Vishamru, Vishamru, B'nai Yisrael, et HaShabbat, la'asot et HaShabbat, le'dorotam merit olam. Beini u'bein B'nai Yisrael, oti le'olam. Beini u'bein B'nai Yisrael, oti le'olam. V'shamru, v'shamru B'nai Yisrael, et HaShabbat, la'asot et HaShabbat, le'dorotam merit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim et haaretz. V'shamru, v'shamru B'nai Yisrael, et HaShabbat, la'asot et HaShabbat, le'dorotam merit olam. U'bayom hashvi, Shabbat vayinafash. U'bayom hashvi, Shabbat vayinafash. V'shamru, v'shamru B'nai Yisrael, et HaShabbat, la'asot et HaShabbat, le'dorotam merit olam. We turn to page 46 and rise as a community for the tefillah. Adonai sefatai tiftachu fi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah. Ha'el ha'gadol ha'gibor ve'hanora, El Elyon, Gomel chasadim tovim, Ve'konei hakol, Ve'zocher chastei ha'avot ve'imahot, U'mevir gula lifnei v'neihem, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. Please be seated. We turn over to page 59. We read together in the middle. When we behold your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and stars that you set in place, what are we humans that you are mindful of us? You made us little less than divine. You made us little less than divine, adorned us with glory and majesty. You gave us dominion over your handiwork, laying the world at our feet. How majestic is your name throughout the earth. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimecha u'lecha na'eh lehodot. We turn to page 60 and join together in Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atah melech Adon lechol hashalom. Ki atah melech Adon lechol hashalom.
take a moment of silence now for the prayers of our hearts. Yehud ratzon imrei fi, Yehud ratzon imrei fi, b'yun libi lefanecha, Adonai tzuri v'goli. Oh, may the words of my mouth and meditations of my heart be acceptable before you, oh God, my rock and my redeemer. Oh, say shalom. Oh, say shalom, Imromal. We say shalom, Alinu. Ve'alko Yisrael. Ve'imru, ve'imru, amen. We turn our thoughts now to those who are in need of healing. And we turn over to page 253 for our Misha Berach prayer. Misha Berach Avotenu ve'imotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak v'Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, v'Leah, Hu yivarech et hachulim. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebekah, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who are ill. Our congregational family is thinking of Michelle, Alexander, Carol Babcock, Vera Benjamin, Pauline Cherwin, Susan Derby, Helene Edwards, Muriel Fields, Beverly Fruit, Carol Goddard, Mary Hartman, Lynn Israel, Deborah Hollis Kay, Robert Kay, Marilyn Levinson, Jonathan Luchow, Laura Malamud, William Newman, David Osaski, Laura Osaski, Sarah Penshaw, Buddy Pollock, Jean Posen, Sean Quinlan, Joyce Abchin Racklin, Ron Rappaport, Sandra Reznikoff, Devorah Bat Rachel, Lanny Rothstein, Lois Abchin Rosenthal, Kevin Rutherford, Stephanie Shabilia, Sid Siegel, Ruthie Silver, Nicholas Sobek, Larry Tallis, Jane Terry, Judy Van Gorder, Mark Weig, Lee Wagman, and Barbie Young. And if you have names that you would like to share this evening, please share as I come up your aisle and down the other one.
Brandon Dorothy Weiss, Susan Popiel, Larry Reed, Mary Lou Boyer,
May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit, and let us say, Amen. We join together in the middle of the page.
Our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu, mikor habracha. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Earlier this week, Blake and I went over to our neighborhood gym to meet up with his friend, and I ended up chatting with his friend's mother. We'll call her Janet. That's not her name, I promise. We got on the subject of education because her son attends St. John's Virtual School. And Janet told me that the biggest reason for keeping her son at home is because of all the toxicity in the high schools these days. I wholeheartedly agreed as I went down the list in my head: anti-Semitism, racism, homophobia, support for neo-Nazism. Blake has told me that he witnesses these things daily. My personal lens left me unprepared for Janet's next comment, where she informed me that as early as 5th grade, her son was coming home and telling her about students in his class who were saying they were of the other persuasion. I diplomatically responded, it is difficult for kids these days. And I was rewarded for my diplomacy with her next comment delivered with genuine concern: the devil comes for our children. I gave her a sympathetic smile and then went to burn off some frustration on the elliptical. My friends, it has been a very busy couple of months in our state legislature, where people who share Janet's views make up the majority. And the latest actions were advanced just 2 days ago. The Human Rights Campaign has condemned the Florida House for advancing Senate Bill 254, an extreme, unprecedented attack on transgender people, their health care, and the families and health care providers who care for them. SB 254 is a gender-affirming care ban that would also give Florida the unprecedented ability to strip parental rights from parents who support their transgender children. This bill would penalize providers by inflicting criminal penalties on providers who give gender-affirming care. It would take licenses away from those providers, and it would prohibit Medicare from covering gender-affirming care for transgender youth or adults. It would also forbid public funds, including those of a public university, public hospital, city or county, and Medicare from being used to provide benefits that include gender-affirming care for transgender people of all ages. A good friend of mine
made Aliyah 2 years ago. I reached out to her today in Israel to ask if it would be okay for me to share her story, and she was thrilled that I was going to do so tonight. She has twins, Shai and Noam, who were both assigned male at birth. One, however, exhibited signs very early that they would be identifying with the LGBTQ community. From the time Noam was very young, maybe 2, they would only be interested in girls' toys, girls' clothing, and at birthday parties, they didn't understand why people kept getting them Legos and trucks. Noam just wanted Barbies and princesses. When Noam was 4, they expressed to their parents that, "I know I'm a boy, but I don't really want to be. I want to be a girl." 2 years ago, when Noam was 7, she told her parents, "I'm a girl." After that, Mom and Dad allowed her to dress as a girl at home and at play. She was seeing a therapist who specializes in gender identity as her mental health was deteriorating. Noam felt like she was playing dress up as a boy each day in school, and there was even a period of time when she would cry each morning. A year ago, almost exactly, Mom and Dad went to the kids' school in Herzliya and explained the situation. And after much discussion, the school decided to assist them in allowing Noam to transition in her school. And they were interviewed by the Jerusalem Post at the time, and this is what they wrote about how the school handled it. On a prescribed day, Matan and Jennifer went to the class while Noam stayed home. They presented the program they had planned along with the entire educational team, during which they read "I Am Jazz" to the class. "The school surprised us and bought us the book in Hebrew," Jennifer said, grinning as she held the well-worn English book and the minted copy in Hebrew, within which are letters of support and love from Noam's classmates. At the end of the book, we told them, "Noam is like Jazz. She has the body of a boy and the brain of a girl." She remembered. They were like, "Okay, whatever." It's hard for people to look at things that are outside of their normal structures. Boys and girls, explained Shai Lee Ben-Or, the advisor and lecturer to parents, educational staff, therapists, and youth on LGBTQ+ and healthy sexuality. But children don't struggle with it like adults do. They understand it very simply. The questions that followed showed the students' young age. They asked if Noam is a girl because she loves doing cartwheels or because she's growing her hair out. And another child said she has a gay uncle, so she understands why they did this during Pride Month. The school psychologist explained in turn that there's a difference between being gay and being transgender. One is who you love, and the other is who you are inside. The parents then told the kids they would prefer for them to address her as a girl from then on, as Hebrew is a gendered language. "Well, you know, Noam can be herself now, and we'll all love her," one little girl said in response, looking at the parents, who looked back beaming and teary-eyed. The next day, the class went out on a picnic and snacked on pink and blue cupcakes, the colors of the transgender pride flag. While they all played together at the picnic, and at school the next day, they all made a point to address Noam with female pronouns. Nothing was ever spoken about bodies. Nothing was ever spoken about surgeries because there's nothing happening physically to Noam. She's just living like a girl now, Jennifer said. We're not planning anything medical for her. She knows about gender reassignment surgery, and she knows that it is an adult decision for when she's grown up. And if she wants hormone blockers in a few years, then we'll look into it, but she is still too young. There was a time when she didn't speak any Hebrew at all, because when we came here, the kids didn't speak Hebrew, Jennifer said. And on her first day back in class, out as a girl, we got a call from the teacher who said, "Everything is great. Noam's been speaking in Hebrew." Jen described it as a flipping of a switch. If once Noam would cry in the morning before going to school or an activity, she now went happily along. She also had play dates lined up with a number of classmates, boys and girls alike, something that had never happened before. Now, I don't want you to think that this was a fairy tale transition. After Noam was transitioned in school, there was pushback by the Haredi deputy mayor of Herzliya, and a long back and forth between the progressives and the traditional community leaders. But Noam is unaware of all of that and blissfully happy. The latest pictures Mom posted on Facebook are of a child who glows from the inside out. Yesterday, upon seeing what was happening here in Florida, Jen posted on Facebook, "I'm sick to my stomach. While we have our fair share of issues here in Israel, never in a million years would I have thought that my transgender child would have more rights and find more safety living in the Middle East than in the United States. But here we are." The simple fact is, here in Florida, parents' and children's rights are being stripped away one at a time. Senate Bill 1580 allows medical practitioners to opt out of medical care if it goes against their own conscience. House Bill 1069, called the Don't Say Period Bill, provides requirements relating to titles and pronouns, revises provisions relating to instructions and materials for specified instruction relating to reproductive health, and provides additional requirements for instruction regarding human sexuality. And the famous Don't Say Gay law has been approved by the state board to be expanded through the 12th grade. Going back to the story in Israel, advisor Ben-Or explained that in general, transgender youth have a remarkably high suicide rate. This is due, for the most part, to a particularly high chance of falling victim to bullying. She stressed that school is where experimentation needs to take place, to be a place to play however they want, with whatever toys they want, without caring about what's between their legs. There's a concern that children might question their own gender identity if they see this around them. It doesn't work that way, she says. If someone questions their gender identity, they will do it regardless of their surroundings. But being surrounded by a large range of gender identities makes it easier to accept oneself. It lets them know that they're not alone. Trans people are already dealing with the feeling of not feeling wanted, not being accepted, not being loved, not belonging. Do we want to treat them like they are worthless? A very quick story about 2-year-old Carrie. That's me. I was in my car seat in the back of the car with my mom driving and my babysitter in the passenger seat. And I kept telling them that I wanted to watch Birds and Bunnies. They had no clue what I was talking about and kept throwing out suggestions. And I kept answering, "No, Birds and Bunnies, Birds and Bunnies, Birds and..." I can still hear myself saying it. I was so young. And it took a bit, but they finally figured out that I wanted to watch Bosom Buddies. For those of you who might be too young, that was the show where Tom Hanks' character and his friend dress as women in order to live in a women's-only apartment building. I watched it all the time. I loved that show. Clearly, watching cross-dressing weekly had no bearing on my sexuality or my gender identity. The key is more education, not less. And it needs to be an education that addresses the reality in which we live, not one that harkens back to a time when things looked like the Ozzie and Harriet Nelson household. Even in the late 40s and 50s, Ozzie and Harriet wasn't a true reflection of American home life. It was fantasy. This Shabbat, we read the double-portion Tazria Metzora, the dreaded pieces of Leviticus that deal with menstruation and skin diseases. Although Felice told me earlier that that was her bat mitzvah portion, and she did not dread it at all and found wonderful things to talk about. I, as the one who trained the many mitzvah students, have a more difficult time helping them write about Tazria Metzora. The fact that Leviticus chapter 12 focused on menstruating women had an enormous effect on Jewish women's lives. The view that women, via their normal, recurring bodily functions, generate a pollution antagonistic to holiness, served as a justification for women's distance from the sacred throughout Jewish history. Scholars speculate that the priesthood excluded women because of fear that the sudden onset of menstruation would result in the clash of impurity and holiness with presumed dire consequences. These laws and associated customs affected women's public religious life and private family life, as they and their husbands were prohibited from sex for extensive periods of time, affecting their fertility and married life in general. There is nothing intrinsically impure about menstruation. It is natural and life-affirming. We're in the 21st century, 200 years post-Enlightenment, and yet here we are being told we can't say period in school. Fear-based education and fear-based religion have overstayed their welcome. The devil is not coming for our children. Rather, God endows us with the wisdom to be able to see and to understand how the world is progressing and the strength to march into the future. Some of us being dragged, but we all are going into the future. Reform Judaism teaches us that change is not only acceptable, but encouraged to be able to grow. As the Greek philosopher Heraclitus taught, the only constant in life is change. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may this be God's will. Shabbat Shalom. Let us turn over to page 282 as we rise for Aleinu. Please be seated. I should have listened to Bob last week when he told me he couldn't hear me when I went to the Ark because the battery's dead. Page 290. Number 5 in the middle of the page. Let us share this reading responsively. It is a fearful thing to love what death can touch, a fearful thing to love, hope, dream, to be and hold. A thing for fools is this, and a holy thing to love. For your life has lived in me, your laugh once lifted me, your world was gift to me. To remember this brings a painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing to love what death has touched. Bless you. 293. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. We're in a period of Shloshim for Clifford Blate, cousin of Brian Alterman, Dr. Donald Cohen, father of Joanne Cohen, Patricia Deem, mother of Bill Deem, Louise Karp Esrig, mother of Adele Stewart, and Reva Sandler, mother of Dan Sandler. In this Shabbat, we observe the yahrzeit of Murray Alpern, Robert Bedenbaugh Jr., Benedict Carlin, Gertrude Freundlich Carlin, Jacob Cohn, Eleanor Dorman, Sidney Feldman, Ellen Flynn, Marilyn Friedman, Theodore Friedman, Minnie Fuchs, Joseph Funari, Stephen L. Geist, Rachel Gerbert, Rebecca Lynn Goodman, Milt Greenberg, Marshall Hodds, Isidore Katz, Stephen Paul Krantz, Fanny Landworth, Max Landworth, Marilyn Levitt, Bernard John Levy, J. Sigmund Levy, Samuel Mansell, Naomi Mendelson, Sidney Merritt, Blanche Mermelstein, Louise Meyer, Roger Mock, Gary Nadler, Barbara Paliv, Sidney Pargman, Bernard Rosenberg, Thelma Rosenberg, Scott Saraga, Dr. Irvin Schneider, George Schwamm, Ray Simon, Blanche Simon, Annie Staring, Belle I. Stomakin, Sumner Waits, Sylvia Wolf, Harold Yaged, and Danny Zalkin. And if you have a name this evening that you wish to add to our list, please go ahead and share. Kevin. Thank you. Dave. Thank you. Tom.
Brent Reynolds, Tom Sheeha, Carol Gladstone.
Thank you. Michelle. Thank you. Pat. Thank you. Randy. Thank you. For all of those whom we name aloud and those we hold in our hearts today and always, we rise together to extol God's name through Kaddish Yatom, the Mourner's Kaddish, page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'alma divra chirutei v'amlich malchutei, v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach, le'alamul almei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yithaleh v'yithalal shmei dukudsha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran ba'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say, amen. Please be seated. And it's my honor to invite Michael Kaur for announcements this evening as a representative of our Board of Trustees. You have your copy? All right.
Shabbat Shalom. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Michael. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, we welcome you this evening to Congregation Ahavat Chesed. Thank you, Cantor, for a most inspiring sermon and service. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., Rabbi Glasser will lead Torah study followed by Shabbat morning minyan at 10:30 a.m. Later in the evening at 6 p.m., join Sisterhood, Brotherhood, and T34. Now, this is all capitalized, so I'm taking it like it's text. Bingo night. Sunday morning TIR will begin at 9 a.m. During the week, we have wisdom led by Rabbi Goodman on Tuesday at 10:30, And on Wednesday at 6:30, join Rabbi Glasser and Susan Board on Zoom as they provide information about caring congregation opportunities and Pastoral Care 101. Next Friday, we have a special Shabbat service focused on infertility awareness. And on May 5th, join us for our Education Shabbat Shirenu to thank our teachers and honor our school. We can't wait to see you there. Our oneg tonight will be in the front foyer, which you can get to by turning right at the back of the sanctuary. Shabbat Shalom.
Michael, if you think about it, call Rachel during the week and tell her just slash the vestibule and put in foyer. Everyone will be happy. Oh, it's grape juice. They must not have known it was me tonight. You can find the Kaddish on page 5. Please join with me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam morei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu V'shabbat kodsho me'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron le'maseh v'reshit ki hu yom techila le'mikra'e kodesh zecher le'tziyat Mitzrayim kivanu v'charta ve'otanu kinashta mikol amim v'shabbat kodshecha Be'ahava uveratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mikadish hashavat Amen. L'chaim. And please join with me for Motzi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. This will be here after services for anyone who would like to come up and take a little piece. We're going to conclude this evening with one of my favorite melodies for Adon Olam. This is a Sephardic melody by Abraham Lopez Cardozo. You could find the words to Adon Olam on page 321. Lai 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 Adon Olam Hashem Allah B'terem Ko Yitzir Nivra Le'ed Nas
ניסה וחפצו כל עשי מלך שמו נקרא ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה והוא הווה והוא יהיה ותתברך והוא אחד לאין שני להמשילו להכבירה בלי ראשית בלי תכלית בלא העוז והמשרה והוא אלי וחי גואלי וצור חבלי בעת צרה והוא ניסי ומנוס לי בנד כוסי ביום אקרא בידו הפקיד רוחי והייתי שד והעירה ועם רוחי גבייתי אדוני לי ולא יירא Shabbat Shalom.
Can you send me a copy? I have a lot of people here. You could sing that.
Anybody? Not saying anybody want any over there?
Yeah, I'm here. I am here. It's always such a